Ladies and gentlemen, how you all doing? This is Conor.
I'm angry. Hello, hello, hello.
And folks, kicking off our Steel Division 2 League play coverage this week. We're on Hiroshima. And Rang, we actually have some very spiffy gentlemen. Who are they and what do they bring into the front?
On the left-hand side in the blue, we have a JKW. What that stands for, I don't know. He's playing 23rd Panzer. And on the right-hand side in the red, we have Gonzo playing 7th Mechanized. And actually, quite a surprise, both are playing balanced income.
You know, I think it's one of those things that after a while, you don't want to be a Vanguard anymore. You want to just have a more balanced lifestyle, and I think that's a great thing on these guys. Especially when you're running a freaking AirSats opening, but, you know, that's neither here nor there.
It's very mature of him, you know, to realize and try to invest for the future instead of trying to blow your money early on and then die in 20 minutes in.
Exactly. You know, I mean, Vanguard is a young man's game. But, you know, after a while, when you have your own armchair, you want to make sure you're a general for more than just a few seconds, right?
Yeah, and you want 155 points in C phase, that's pretty lucrative.
Absolutely. We are seeing a kind of crazy half-track and tank investment in this northern side here. This is going to get messy very quickly. I can't help but wonder if JKW is bringing in, yep, he's bringing another pack, some more infantry. He sees there's going to be a problem here off to the northern flank. I don't think it's going to be enough, though.
Yeah, this is quite a lot of firepower being brought in from Gonzo, doing a pretty classic Gonzo rush. And this sort of map, I mean, playing up north or down south is definitely a good area to try to attack, as it can really beat out just trying to do the slug of the center.
That's true. I'm watching right now. I know there's been some talk here, people complaining about the power of the MG42. Really, MG's setup teams overall. But you can see right now, counterplay, just bring artillery, and that's kind of how it should be. There's a rock, paper, scissors idea behind most of fighting for a reason. This is gonna be a breakout over here in the north, unless there's a crazy amount of investment here.
Yeah, this is a very good concentrated push. I like how Slanker and Tank Destinity through the southern side here, capturing another easy flag, and I mean, he could get into the flanks and really just cause some havoc in the forest. The half-tracks and strokies pushing through. The 7th mech has great medium armor of the Su-76s and T-34s galore. This could work really well for Gonzo, just how this is currently developing.
It certainly can. I'm trying to see if the success in the north is being sacrificed anywhere else. But we're just seeing, really, Boita Sherman's getting 86th in the center. There's only one surviving, as far as I can see. The other two, I think, have already been turned into torches. So, decent play overall. 13-11. Yeah, I mean, the center is a little bit weak, but I think the 7th mech definitely has the opportunity to turn it back around. Plus, you have, you know, Su-85s you can bring in. You have ZIS-3s. A whole, you know, bevy of material.
Yeah, this is definitely, I think, a worthwhile trade for now. Trying to get that northern flank under control and really push hard there. I mean, it is forcing JKW from redirecting his forces from the center. But I don't know, we're gonna have to see, because right now JK is pushing pretty hard and Gonzo doesn't have a whole lot left in the center. A single T-34 and a few infantry squads. It could actually go into JK's favor pretty quickly if he manages to envelop his central position as soon as possible.
There is a Sherman engaging, Boita Sherman engaging a T-34-76 far south, but no, now there is no tank within 2 kilometers, 4 kilometers? No, that's yeah, I guess about 3 kilometers right now. Really, there's no tank in you know, easy line of sight. Now, unfortunately, JKW has to engage with AirSats troop in Walking Point. So this is a very, very bloody opportunity. I don't really think I really want to put too much money on those guys.
Yeah, just seeing how infantry for JKW has really deteriorated in that push. Yeah, it's out to troop and not going to be enough to push it out. And Gonzo, yeah, there's a tank reinforcements being brought in to be able to at least secure his part of the town for the time being. JKW is going to be flooding in some more AirSats and Panzer IVs, but I think it might just be enough AirSats to route out the Strokies, but we'll have to see. I'm not hopeful.
Actually, I kind of like seeing the P4Cs up top. These are, again, the assault gun variants. You know, really no armor whatsoever. But I think with all these half-tracks, that can be, and really light infantry, that could be a really, really great opportunity to kind of come in, kind of pick off some of the light material, cut down these kind of flanking maneuvers that we're going to see right now as these half-tracks move into the southern part of these northern forests.
Yeah, with how Gonzo's using his half tracks, it's almost he's playing second bench. All these M2s galore. Like this is a lot of half track play for a Russian division, and he's also bringing them in strokies rather than just doing the classic tank destiny key half track pushes here. So definitely an interesting call.
I will say I'm looking at his deck though. It looks like this is really the last time we're going to be seeing a lot of half tracks. I might be wrong on that.
No, you should be correct. Usually, if a Russian deck does have M2A1 half tracks, it's usually only about 20 to 12 or so, depending on the deck. So you don't have a whole lot, but in an early phase of the game, you can damn well make them count.
And he's definitely doing that right now. It's the question is, and this might be one of the few times it's a good idea to pull in an app. But the thing is that there doesn't seem to be any of that over here on the 21st Panzer.
Yeah.
He's got Flock of Wolves. I mean, like, at that point, just bringing the 190s, and that should be enough to kind of stymie this push.
Yeah, it's definitely going to need something, because these strokes are starting to be a pain in the ass, and Gonzo is a really good defensive position in that northern area now, and he doesn't need to push anymore, because he's managed to capture the 3 flags on that hill. There's literally no reason for him to really push. I mean, he can get 1 flag in the farmstead, but that's pretty much impossible to take in any reasonable scenario.
I think we're going to see another push here down to the south. I've seen some infantry kind of moving to like these loose jump-off points. Tanko Thessaloniki are not troops you keep in defensive positions. I think, yeah, this could be interesting. I think he's going to shout a little bit more, and as JKW deploys troops to the north, he's going to put and kind of hit him in the gonads down south.
Yeah, this could be a pretty good little flanking push here of the tank Thessaloniki's. JK is actually making good progress in the town once again, as he really just has the armor advantage. And yeah, I mean, there's only 1 T-34 and 3 German, well, 1 technically American tank in that town.
We didn't sell it to them, I promise.
They just found it, I swear.
Exactly. You know, he told me his manufacturing year was 1936, I promise. But the thing is, and I'm wondering here, because 7th Mech, we've always talked about, has the ability to be absolutely kind of insane, just in terms of raw number of AFVs. Does the 21st Panzer get enough equipment to kind of reverse this trend? In raw numbers, I would say no, but I would say that there's the potential from quality standpoint to kind of offset this.
In the northern fight, I think it's going to be a real uphill battle for JKW, just because his CQC firepower isn't all that great. He does actually have some good artillery with the Weiligwerfer from his Moth map, which I definitely feel like he's going to have to try and use in this northern flank. But his main advantage is probably in the center, and just using his tank advantage to try and just win out the center. Because he can definitely get some pretty easy flags if he manages to... Yeah, he does have King Tigers and B phase, so... I mean, a King Tiger in the center would be overkill, but it would work. It would, well, mostly work at ISU 122s, but King Tiger still has a pretty good advantage over him.
Well, and we are seeing right now, a lot of the armored vehicles are paying the price for kind of just picking the raw numbers as opposed to the quality. We saw that P4 in the center, for example, taking out 2 Su-85s by himself, which is not something you expect to see out of a P4.
Yeah, I mean... I think it's just the P4 having the veteranry advantage is such a huge deal. Like, vetted P4s are actually pretty good in long-range tank fights, especially against, as you're seeing here, Gonzo's unvetted tanks and tank destroyers.
To the north, we are seeing a massive half-track push being backed up by a single T-34-76. I think he's just trying to run troops in enough so that way he can take out the P4.
Yeah. Just kind of moving in and out. Oh no, the 2 half-tracks are going to have a very bad time.
Here's the other thing, too. Okay, here we go. We're finally going to see a 190 make a gun run over here on the center, going at the stroke keys here. A little bit nervous, I think. I mean, for the Soviet material that's going to start coming in as well. We have early Gepards. I say early, almost at Phase B. But those Gepards might be more than enough to kind of keep all of the Soviet air power at arm's length now, too.
Yeah, if you just get enough of them, like... They're not great against bombers, but if you're in a dogfight with an enemy aircraft, and just a few Gepards can really turn the tide, so to speak.
absolutely true. And we got 2 of them now in the center.
Yeah.
But let's continue theorycraft here. JKW says, screw the North, I'm pushing center. Is that the right call, or does he need to actually take back the North? Does the North remember?
I think that's the right call, actually. He's actually making good progress in the center. His main issue is just trying to clear out lots of the enemy infantry, as his infantry is not that great, but he has a lot of armor in that center. And he has the armor advantage just due to the firepower and also the veterancy compared to Gonzo. So I think that will be his best bet. We are seeing an ISU from the Gonzo kind of in the northern center position here to try and shoot anything that, you know, it sees, which, if it sees it, it will probably die.
Well, and you know, if it bleeds, we can kill it, so that's the important thing, right?
Yeah.
But
gasoline in this case.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. We weep oil tears. We are seeing... This is really kind of bizarre to me, because we're seeing some of the AFVs to the north being sent in drips and drabs, and for some reason, that seems to be the right. I'm
yeah, it wasn't a good call moving in the half tracks unsupported. Like having them with like the SU-76s, for example, to be sacrificial lambs, so the half tracks get shot first, and not the SU-76s, is what you'd want to do. But the SU-76s, I mean, managed to trade with the P4, but that's a worthwhile trade for the SU-76.
And ISU-122 survives. JU-88 does not get the kill because the pom-pom over there to the north.
Wow. Yeah,
the PE, on the other hand, able to get the MG. Of course, a very different level of investment there. I'm almost wondering, the PE-2 doesn't have the same kind of robustness that you expect out of most of the bombers, and yet he still goes away without trailing too much smoke. I'm really quite surprised.
Yeah, yeah, 20 mils... I'm mainly just, for suppression, not so much for the kill and blow.
I suppose it's very true. Boyd to Sherman, in the meantime, engaging, looks like half of the Soviet army. And the PaK-38, yeah, just he'd be doing a door knocker stuff, so...
Yeah. He's doing his best, but his best is not enough in this case. Yeah, JKW really just pumping out the Panzer IVs. He actually focusing a little bit more on this northern flank here. There's a lot of P4s up north, and of like proper good ones too, not just the Panzer IVCs, but I don't know if he's really going to make too much progress here. I mean, the infantry fight is where it really comes down to up north, and his infantry from here on out is just a few Panzer Grenadiers, and you're not going to really do that well in a town in a forest fight with them compared to Tankos.
No, you're not. But more PEs come right back in, and more PEs get just shoveled right back out.
Yeah.
Got the bomb off, but not too much. Yes, sir?
Yeah, I did manage to get the bomb off at least, and E2 as well, going to be dropping in some favors, and by favors I mean high explosives.
It really doesn't get a whole lot done. And unless that pursuit curve is just completely balls out. What the heck? Sometimes the pursuit curves on the planes just completely confuse me.
They confuse me too. The plane AI in Eugene games has been special, to say the least.
Well, it's one of those things that you look at it and you're like, I suddenly understand why the war in the air was so deadly. Because apparently no one knew how to fly in the Western Front.
No, what would happen is that the fighter pilot would get stressed out in real life, and he just flips a coin. It's like, tails I go left, heads I go right. And then it looks, it's like, oh, I'm going left. That's all the enemy anti-air, yeah. Oh, whatever. The coin said I had to turn left.
Well, I mean, what was the whole Family Guy joke about, let's lose them with a few maneuvers, and it's like the gentle turn to the left-hand side? Yeah, we can't follow that. Yeah. In the meantime, though, in the center, fates have changed. We see a ton of these Su-76s, Su-85s, Tu-34-42s. Like, a lot of hunks of junk in here, and I think it's because the threat of Razvedkas, and heck, even the tank of this is going to be more, excuse me, Automachiki, rather, wow. But we're seeing Automachikis and tank of this Nikis, and really every single kind of Niki out there. It's going to be more than enough to kind of scare back most armor.
Yeah, Gonzo has managed to trade just enough in the center, and I also think JKW focusing his resources up north has definitely weakened his center position. and this is allowing Gonzo to get the armor advantage in the center, but more importantly, get the infantry advantage, because that horde of Strelkies and Avtos are going to be... I mean, the German infantry just cannot hold up. I mean, you've got a Pak 43, a Sherman, and a Panzer IV, and they're going to have to do a lot of work.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it's really not looking good for JKW. I've getting like reinforcing up north of that Panzer IV blob earlier, which we're seeing right now is they're sitting around doing nothing, was not the right call. He really needed them in the center, and he's finally getting three Panzer IVs, as well as a bunch of Panzer Grenadiers to come into the center to reinforce. But he's still going to be on the back foot as Gonzo is getting those offensive maneuvers, and he is on a 14-10 advantage.
Suppose I'm trying to figure this out. Like, if I'm JKW, what do I do? I think what I do is I bring in the Ju-88 as I'm doing right now, and I try to hammer as much of these armor concentrations in the center. Because I think if I can rupture the center, I can play Austerlitz, and I can kind of move against either flank.
Yeah, he really needs to win this center flank if JKW wants a chance of winning. I just don't think really investing any more resources up north in a meaningful capacity is really going to get him anyway. Does get an SU-85 though, so not bad, and the Ju-88 is going to get out unscathed, which is even better.
Well, we are going to see this, an SU-76 is going to go and show us his heels over here to a Pak 43. Unfortunately, Pak 43 showed his hand, all, you know, massive barrage of it. Oh no, and now he's going to get nailed.
Yeah. Oh, Jeopard's actually stressing one P3 out, so it's going to soften the blow.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not going to matter. That's the one thing about this, is that the Pak 43, it's too beautiful for this world. Like, you can't keep that thing alive almost ever.
Yeah, it kind of has the King Tiger problem of it being such a high priority target. Yeah, it's just going to face any and all high explosive launched towards this area as soon as possible. Especially if it's out in the open, but to be fair, there's not really many good places that you can put a Pak 43 in the center position of the map.
No. No.
Yeah.
Now, regrettably, we are seeing the P4 is just kind of getting owned by just sheer weight of numbers. Though we do see 2 quick kills. I feel like I'm like watching Red Storm Rising happen before my eyes, as tank after tank just exploded like so many like Tinker Toys here.
Yeah, just one after another, but the Panzer IV's being brought back in, he's actually starting to get efficient trades with them again, and that's what JKW needs if he wants to win this central position. He needs to get good tank-on-tank fights.
Yeah, I just don't think he's going to get them, though. I mean, if I can lose 2-1, and it doesn't 2-1 armored vehicles as the Soviets, no, it doesn't matter. Again, let's take a quick look at this. I mean, it's 54 to 37 just raw tanks. That doesn't count anti-tank materials, which of course he still has another, what, 12, 15 assault pieces that could double as tank destroyers and you know, and more or less tanks.
Yeah, 7th Mech has a lot of... They're a pretty nice division, because you have the infantry spam, which is important for Soviets, you have the T-34-76 spam, and then you have a bit of heavy air with the SU-85s and the ISUs for anything nasty. It's a pretty well-balanced division in that regard.
True. Very true. I'm kind of pretty lucky that Gonzo has not decided to push to the south as JKW, because JKW has a single squad of air troop holding the line and a Pak 38 that's got absolutely no heat ammo. So...
Oh no, I think Assat's trooping is very scary. I wouldn't want to have to go up against him.
Yeah, if I was a daughter of the American Revolution who didn't have any arms, legs, or teeth. We're not talking about Stoloma from Battletech. We're talking about, like, legitimate troops here.
Yeah.
And just even more and more S6s coming right back in. And I can never remember. Oh, yeah, he's only got 8? It feels like he's had so many more appear on the battlefield here.
SU-76 size?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does feel like it's been more, but I think... Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't really know what else to say, but I guess this is probably the last run Jutty has.
Well, we also see 3 P4Gs kind of trundling to the front here. I can't imagine them much longer as SU-76s, both the PT and the I variants, are going to go very swiftly outflank them. and with the Strokies kind of pinging them at them from the sides, this is going to be, you know, death by 5 cuts.
Yeah.
And I still can't help but look away.
Yeah. I also, yeah, I mean, JKW is holding this part of the town, which is nice, but he's still losing by the 2 points. And I think it's going to be hard for him to push into the town, because he really does not have that infantry advantage. That has definitely screwed him over this match, as yeah, he didn't take a whole lot. I mean, you don't have a whole lot of good infantry with 21st Panzer in the first place, but yeah, it's just kind of tough for him. He only had like 5 Pioneers and A-Phase, and it's really not going to be enough against the Strokey spam.
No, you know what? When you're losing Su-76, you're taking out your P4s. It's a big problem.
Yeah, we're just seeing the
problem.
horde of Soviet tanks being brought in now. And there's one P4. He has some armored support, and okay, some more P4s being brought in, but...
And it helps when, you know, the enemy moves within range of Panzerfausts.
Yeah.
But, so...
Very polite of him. Instead of you having to go towards them with the Panzerfaust, they come towards you. It's like a service delivery, but of armored vehicles that are willing to get blown up.
Yeah, it feels like a shooting gallery, and it's just like, you know... It's a very odd feeling, I'm sure, to be that anti-tank man, so...
Yeah.
And an entirely misplaced 172.5 off-map. That thing should have come in about 10 minutes ago. I'm sorry.
And on
you know my feeling. You know my feeling about off-map in the first place. The world knows my feeling about off-map in the first place. That should have been deployed up to the north. The concentration of forests, like... I'm not really a proponent anymore of just even using artillery in town fights, because towns are by necessity spread apart. So unless you have a giant concentration of troops, or you know for a fact that center crossroads has like 8 different anti-tank, I don't like using it in towns.
Oh, that's a pretty good point. I've noticed with the towns in SD2, they're like pretty large. Like,
yeah.
Hiroshima is really weird in the town fight, because on one hand you are fighting close quarters, but on the other hand you're just having these long-range machine gun battles between, you know, different blocks of the town, so to speak. So, like you kind of need the long-range firepower, like machine guns and all of that, but you also need a lot of CQC to be able to push. And as you're seeing, Gonzo's just pushing even though he's getting off-map, because he doesn't care. He has a bunch of T-34s.
Well, and that's kind of my thing. I mean, if you see right now, the approach avenues that they have, there's so many more to go between north and south of that central kind of piece. Like, you're right. It's this weird thing of knife fighting, but you need to bring a gun anyway.
Yeah.
Because you have relatively long distances, but you don't have relatively confined quarters from cover either, which is what you tend to see from a lot of the, you know, earlier maps that we have seen.
Yeah. You pretty much need a rifle with a bayonet.
Exactly.
You need a gun and the knife.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm not sure I could have said it much better myself. PE comes on in to take out basically a lot of the infantry.
Such a trooping.
And yeah, and this is kind of shows you how bad it is. JKW calls in artillery on what formerly was his own position.
Yeah. Yeah, this is completely gone titch up here for JKW. He's losing by a +2 lead. He's got some Panzer Grenadiers being brought in, but Gonzo has just managed to really push hard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So maybe back up. From a deck perspective, would you have brought the same deck that JKW did?
I feel like it could have worked if he played more heavy in the center earlier on, so to speak. I just think that one Panzer IV reinforcement that went up north and still has done nothing up here was definitely a bit of a misplay. Like, once he lost that northern flank, he sort of just left the defenses and really pushed heavy in the center, because I feel like he was very close to making that fully collapse, completely capture the town and start capturing the small little areas and just play long range for Panzer IVs against, you know, not so great long range T-34s, ripping that King Tiger to really be overkill, and just have fun plinking at stuff from 2 to 1.5 kilometers. But he allowed Gonzo to get back into the town, where Gonzo, you know, he has that very long knife with those T-34s and Su-76s and Strokies, and he really just stabbed it right into JKW's metaphorical gut, so to speak. Yeah.
I agree with you. I think you look where the air slash trooping is falling back off the hillside, and you see that little complex. If you stick a couple of anti-tank guns in there, maybe put artillery piece behind it. Of course, it's an artillery piece, and he's got really only Wiederflakwerfers, and he's got a couple SK-18s in C phase, which we have now been in for quite a bit of time. But yeah, there's no need to be aggressive. You've already lost all the flags. You might as well just kind of say, you know what, I'm going to write off the north. I'm going to come back to something else.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much JK's W problem in the match, and J88 does go down, and yeah, JK only has like a minute left. It's a +3 now for Gonzo, so to speak.
I will say one of the things I do want to kind of call out is I do like seeing heavier airplay from the 21st Panzer. I would have called it in even a little bit earlier than it was. Of course, a Ju-88, that thing is such a boon early on, but can always be such a hindrance. Yeah. So you only get one of those. But I like a heavier airplay for 21st Panzer. I feel like you need to have more support because your infantry game is just so bad because most of your infantry doesn't have anti-tank.
Yeah, you do need good high explosive support and other things that really boost your infantry, because it's really just Panzergrenade you're playing with, so artillery, air power. Also, just having a bunch of Panzer forces backing you up is also quite nice. But yeah, that's one of the big problems.
Idiot question. Battery Führers, I have always been very lukewarm about bringing them. I know from a game mechanic perspective what they do. When you don't have a ton of artillery, are you just bringing it because you need to fill a slot, or is that just like a command post? Is that really the point behind it, the thinking?
Well, currently, because of how artillery is not super useful in 1v1s, you don't take a lot of artillery slots. And the Battery Führer, you're not using it for, like, you're not using it, it has no real actual purpose, unlike with Red Storm, where it actually does much to artillery, apart from, yes, giving them a little bit of leadership. You're really just bringing the Battery Führer or the Russian or American, whatever counterpart, just to be another frontline infantry leader without having to take up an infantry slot. And they're also usually rather big squads, so they're usually quite survivable.
And that's the kind of question overall, because I mean, like, we've talked about it. We've talked about it. I don't want to go and always kind of constantly retread that ground, but like, guys, mortars exist for a reason. Yeah. I get that there's the big boom is always so impressive, but utility's a thing.
I've actually, to be a bit of a tangent here at the end of this cast, I actually have talked to some players about the whole mortars and why they don't bring it, and they do actually brought up a very good point in why they don't. Sure. And the reason is that they're usually kind of they're not expensive, so to speak, but you have to buy a supply truck as well, which is an added cost. Like, if you buy a mortar half-track, it's usually 85 to 100 points. They don't have a whole lot of ammo, so you're going to have another 40 points invested in a supply truck. So you're going to have to spend roughly 140 points. Yes, the mortar half-track is great, but due to how 1v1s work, yeah, 140 points could be like 6 or 7 Strelky squads, or like 6 Panzer Grenadier squads. And you really, just due to how 1v1s are, you just need frontline units to hold the massive swath of territory that you have. Well,
so I am patently aware that, first of all, this is going to be a discussion we have, I'm sure, even offline with this, but look at the utility you get from it, though. And from either Russian or German perspective, you're probably bringing like IG-18 or Russian equivalents anyway, so you might as well bring supply trucks. Like, Gonzo has supply trucks. I know over on the opposite side, not so much. But,
it's not
fine.
So much.
It's good to hear that there's a reason behind it. Yeah. I don't agree with it, but I understand the theory.
Yeah, it's not so much like the activation points as the play track, it's more of just the actual like points cost buying it. But
yeah.
Like long-term investment, like mortars are very good. Like you can get a lot of money out of a good mortar half-track, especially in team games. If you're not running mortar half-tracks in team games, I really think you're missing out, because I seriously think of one of the best units in the game, so to speak. But in the 1v1, really just encourages short-term like thinking and investment rather than the long-term investment of getting artillery. Because artillery in these games in general is a longer-term investment, because it's not going to be able to directly affect the battlefield immediately. You're going to have to get a few batteries in, and hopefully it blows off enough guys to Kingdom Come to get your money's worth. But it is an interesting discussion, and I do agree with you, Khan. I'd love to see more play in this game, because I think people do miss out the usefulness of smoke in some regards, but it's just a larger problem of how 1v1s are currently.
Yeah, and we'll tilt at this windmill for quite a bit of time. I'm sure
Yes.
So.
Yes, we're gonna be charging this windmill until we get some brain
Sancho
damage.
finally convinces Don is in fact an old man.
Yeah.
I will say, looking at the aftermath here on page, or just with that one P4 who had a number of at least kills. They weren't always fantastic, but I think that was the guy that was in the center engaging a lot of material from a bit of distance.
That's a really weird name he has.
Mul Eckhart?
Yeah.
I wish I could give you some kind of like flashy name behind it, but I can't.
No, it's just...
I can't. But, for more theory crafting with Khan and Rang, you can definitely tune in next time, I will say that much.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts about this one, sir?
Just really good aggressive play from Gonzo. Pretty good job from him. And both sides playing balanced, which is nice to see. We'll have to see if we're seeing that balanced trend in the next replay.
Yeah, I actually really am hoping that myself. But folks, until the next replay, I'm Con Ulrich.
I'm Rangaroo. Take it easy.